Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Boston and I shot the city of Boston and I went all the way to Portland, Maine to shoot the lighthouse. And I really wanted to share this adventure with you so you can see what it takes to get a great photo. I took a lot of bad photos until I had a really cool photo. So I used a Sony a7R III with a 24-105. I used a Tiffin variable filter for the long exposure, and I used this beautiful Siriu ST124 for a tripod. I really like this one. Join me in Maine and let me show you this adventure. All right, so I'm here in Boston. This is a classic view I always see when I see Boston downtown. You know, when I take photo in cities, I love to walk around without a tripod, just a camera. I have a 24-105 f4, which is really great because you can like zoom in, zoom out. Also tonight I'm playing with a star filter. A star filter is something that's going to make stars with the car light. It's beautiful. And the weather is really bad. So when the weather is really bad, you have to wait for the blue hour. The blue hour is going to be in about an hour or two when the sky is going to become blue and all the lights are going to be up. And we're going to have like 10-15 minutes. So what I usually do is I walk around and I try photos and then I wait for the right time, which is the blue hour, and get the shot. You know, I have no idea if I'm gonna make it because there's so much people, like any major cities. The weather is really bad, and photography of city is all about the foreground elements. You know, this whole area is kind of nice, but what am I gonna put as a foreground element? That's what I'm looking for. It could be like a lamp like this. Foreground is everything, you know, because when you got something nice, everybody can take a photo of it. But if you have a foreground, midground, and background, right now I'm finding nothing. The weather is awful. I don't know if I'm gonna get any photos, but let's try. Okay, so as I was driving, I saw a little bit of like a Flatiron building like in New York, and I had this idea of finding like a really cool foreground element. I think there is two. One of my students on my coaching, I have a coaching program called the Institute of Photography. He shot that and I thought it was a great composition. I got a tripod because I want to erase the car. So let's see, maybe this one or the next one. So I love this whole neighborhood here because you got like a little bit of a small building, and then you have a lot of leading lines. And so I try different things. I try to shoot like at a very high ISO by hand, so like 1000 ISO f4, or I try to shoot like at 5 seconds at 50 ISO, so that I have like the stars from the lights and all the cars becomes, you know, like just red lines. Right now there's almost no car. I'm waiting for cars to come by to sort of do a bit of a light painting. And like all the lights are on of the city. This is really the magic window. Is right now we have, I'm guessing, another 5-10 minutes. And I really want to nail that street. I like the little leading lines that you have like with the sidewalk. I'm just gonna take a few photos. This could be the photo of the day. Boston architecture, amazing. So I'm always looking for foreground elements and leading lines. And I love these stairs here. I don't know if the photo is going to be any good, but it leads the eyes inside of the photo. I always find this really interesting. So I'm always looking for like cool lamps, you know, cool elements that can be a foreground, an anchor point from where you watch the photo, and then like stairs or things that's going to lead the viewer inside of the photo. Premier plan, plan moyen, arrière-plan. All right, so I have a confession to make. One of my favorite shows is this Netflix show called Somebody Feed Phil with Phil Rosenthal. And I've watched every show he's made on that show. And, you know, he travels the world and shows, you know, the food from the local people, the high-end food, the more street food. I just love the guy. He's so uplifting. So anyway, I got the idea of shooting Maine and shooting the lighthouse from Phil. Now, if somebody knows Phil, please tell him to come to Paris. I don't know why. He's on every city on this Netflix show but Paris. If he does Paris, I will fly and show him around. I've been there for 50 years. I will show you the amazing of Paris field. You will absolutely love it. In any case, thank you for your inspiration. If you're not watching that show on Netflix, go watch it. It's absolutely genius. And voila. So now we are in Portland. We're gonna have some nice dinner, and then I'm gonna go and try to take an iconic photo, if possible, of one of the nicest lighthouses in Maine, USA. It's the Portland Lighthouse, and I have no idea what it looks like. I've never been there. I've seen the photos, and I'm hoping that tonight we'll get a good golden hour sunset and a great photo. So for now, let's have some dinner. So is this going to work? I don't know, it's my first time here. And you know, they say that it's open till sunset, but what is the definition of sunset? Beginning of sunset or end of sunset? Because I want to shoot the end of sunset. So I don't know how it's going to work with the National Guards. Are they going to kick me out? Look at this place. It's all about finding a foreground element and a leading line. That's what I'm looking, foreground element and leading line. So I'm going to put an ND variable on the camera because there's too much light and I'm trying to get a long exposure. So I need to stop the light from coming into the camera. From my experience, when you get like, you know, some nice wave at about 1 second, they look the best. Sometimes 1 second, sometimes 10 seconds, you have to try things. So I'm going to try with this Stephen variable filter. So what I do is, when I use an ND variable filter, I first set the time. So what I want is 1 second. Why I want 1 second is I find that 1 second gives a nice flow to the wave. So I put it on 1 second and then like F7, and then I do the exposure with the filter itself. And I always spot focus on something that's in the middle or in the back. So I'm spot focusing right now on the lighthouse. The only thing is, I think it's gonna be a failure tonight because there was a lot of clouds, there was a lot of pink, and we arrived too late. I stayed for the lobster roll. Thank you, Phil, but you know, I sort of missed the time, but we'll see. Maybe the blue hour is gonna be interesting. Right now, it's kind of boring. All right, so today was not great in the clouds. My wife was very courageous. I was sleeping too much. She went and took the photo from another spot that I want. It's all about the foreground element. We're getting kicked out by this mister in National Guards because it's sunset, so no way to get the blue hour, but I'm gonna come back tomorrow earlier and do a different angle. I'm gonna get that shot. So it's actually working. I love the photo. I love the photo. So what I do is I go at like 50 ISO because I want to make the sensor the less sensitive. Then I go, right now I'm at f18, and then I went all the way to 4 seconds. I'm at 4 seconds and it's very bright. And so 50 ISO, f18, 4 seconds, and look at the result. And so what you do is you take a lot of photos. Every photo is going to have a different flow of wave. And you see which one you like the most. Kennebunkport welcomes you. All right, so here in a small village which I cannot pronounce, and one thing what I do when there's a lake is first I wait for the sun to be a bit lower, because when the sun is lower, there's something called the Fresnel effect, where you get a lot of mirror in the water. And also I'm looking for foreground elements, and I found these small 3 little boats over there, and I'm going to be shooting and using them as the foreground elements. And the problem is that at first I was shooting toward the sky, toward the sun. The problem when you do that, it washes out all the colors. That way, by going the other side, you get better colors. So now it's just a matter of finding, now that I have a good foreground element, it's finding a middle ground and a background. So that's what I do around the lake. Also, one thing I do is I always spot focus, where you have a little joystick and you can move around, and I always spot focus towards the further away. That's how I do it. I love the light. The light is incredible. I absolutely adore, when you're like, the light was really shit all day, we wait 8 hours and finally you get that. That's what photography is amazing about, getting this kind of photo. I love it, I love it. It's like fishing, you come back with something. And tonight, I'm gonna come back with something. Oh, by the way, guys, all the retouching photos that you see are done with my preset. You can get a free sample. Link is just under the video. Welcome to the Acadia National Park. This is our last stop on our Boston, Maine trip. I've always wanted to come here. I've seen a lot of photos. So we've been walking around the coast, and we found this location, which I kind of like. The sun is setting behind me, so it's a bit of a high dynamic range situation. So what I did is I went to 50 ISO, I put on an ND variable, and I have a basic exposure of 5 seconds. But then I'm bracketing 2 f-stop more and 2 f-stop less, just to be sure, because it's a really hard situation. I'm trying to get that leading line here with the tree in the background and all of that. We'll see what happens. I'm doing a photo here. I don't think it's going to work because there's no really leading lines or foreground elements. And life is all about leading lines and foreground elements. Alright guys, I hope you like this. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in another great adventure.